Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and Whispers of the Old Gods expansion has come out, so that means it's time to make new decks for every single character, both in Wild and Standard format. For this recording, we will be making a new Mage deck in Standard. Let's select the Mage. Uh, where did that go? Oops, I need to convert it to a standard. Can do that apparently on any screen. Now, if I didn't know what I was doing, which arguably I don't know what I'm doing in Hearthstone compared to a lot of people, I could just use these deck recipes and that would just be the beginning, the classic Mage, Dragonfire, Madness, and Magic. But I want a custom deck, so I'm going to make a custom deck. Otherwise, this would be a really short recording, and it's going to be a pretty short recording anyways. So the question becomes, what of the new cards changes things? This is one of these cards that spends all your mana and then does something pretty amazing. In this case, the Forbidden Flame deals that much amount of damage to a minion. It's probably not the greatest card in the world, but I think I'll keep it in the deck. Anyways, because it only does it to a minion. If it could do it to the face and you could do on the 10th turn 10 damage to the face, that would be amazing. But not the case. However, I think with a Mana Wrath, Mana Worm here, that's pretty good. And then Mirror Image is pretty good, and that's pretty good. And I'm already down the path of making just a standard Mage deck. Let's see. Spell damage plus 1. After you cast a spell, give Cthulhu +1/+1. Ooh. Interesting. So I never was into these Grand Tournament cards that would make it do 1 extra damage. Actually, I don't play with the Mage very often at all because almost assuredly any player is going to get the custom Mage to rank 60 before anything else, because it is the easiest of characters to play in my opinion. Potentially that's gonna eventually change, but it still feels very much like you start as the Mage. You actually do play as the Mage before anything else when you first start a game and make a new account. At least last time I made a new account, that's how it worked. There were some Frost cards that came in with the Whispers of the Old Gods, so you couldn't expand a frozen strategy, but I don't think that's what I'm going with right now. I'm not sure what I am doing. I think I may end up making a Cthulhu card deck. Like, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. That sounds good. Vaporize would be one we'd normally play. If I'm doing spell damage +1, I need to have that in here. I think this card is super overpowered. It's very strange that this is a Mage card. I really think there should be a Warlock card like this. So I'll put that in there. So here's a new Whisper of the Old Gods. After you cast a spell, freeze an enemy. So I'll put that in the deck. Freeze a minion and the minions next to it and deal 1 damage to them. Maybe, but probably not. This one is inspired to gain +1 spell damage, so you might use him. I'm putting a lot of things in here that you might use. Let's see, Battlecry. Cast a random spell that costs 5 or less, targets randomly chosen. I'll try that. Discover a spell. We did not get any discover things, actually, at all. The phrase discover did not get used in this expansion at all. So I wonder if they're gonna maintain discover as a battle cry from Whisper of the Old Gods. He's pretty good, I'll keep him. So that gets me to 30. And we've got flame strikes that we would definitely want. So I'll give it a Dragon's Breath for flame strike. We could go with frost things, or we could go with more spell damage things. It's kind of a weird mix here because I've got a few cards that do spell damage up, and a few cards that do freeze, and a few cards that do just random things. Probably a card like this one that does a random spell. It's probably not great. You wouldn't want to play that in a league play trying to get to the top tier ranked, because you just don't want things that are random. So now the question is, can I get Cthulhu to come up here? Yes, I can. Good. That's C''THUN. Battlecry whenever you give Cthulhu more. Taunt, give Cthulhu more. Deal 2 damage, give Cthulhu. At the end of your turn, give Cthulhu. Divine Shield, give Cthulhu. Whenever this minion takes damage, just give it on a Battlecry. So I'd have to have a heavy Battlecry deck, and I just don't think the Mage is the right character for that. So we won't be doing a Cthulhu deck. Is there anything else we would want to do then with these new cards? There are some new cards that do different things. What I want, Doomsayer at the end of Instead of doing Flame Strike, maybe a Doomsayer. Where's Flame Strike? Did I get rid of it? I think I may have gotten rid of it. I'll get rid of a Cone of Cold and do Doomsayer instead. And normally you'd start having like these guys in here. This one here is a 3/2 versus this is a 2/2. And it cost the same. So you would never play the Cobalt Geomancer now. As long as you have this card and it's not banned, this is a better card. It does everything that this does and has 2 attacks. So that card is kind of pointless now, which is what the expansions are going to eventually end up doing to all of these classic cards. Of course, then the expansions are going to be constantly cycled out too, so you may end up going back to Geomancer or whatever his name was. What else do we have? What's the next spell? There's a spell damage +1 for every tier. At least one. So let's find the next one. Next one we have is a 1/4 spell damage. And let's see, for 3 we have Flame Walker. Or Twilight Flame Caller. Interesting. A fire and ice deck is what we're ending up making here. And there's no other 3 that does spell damage +1. Sadly, I think I need to get rid of the Cone of Cold and put in this just so I have 1 silence card in the deck. Even though the owl has gotten more expensive, it still feels like the right move. Next one we have is this 3 that's, if you have a minion with spell damage, gain +2/+2, so let's take something else out. I'm gonna take this out and put that in. Maybe I end up taking out the Sorcerer's Apprentice too. Whenever you play a card +1/+1, that's no good. Well, I mean, it's kind of good, but I'm not going to play it in this deck. Are there any other cards we want to swap out? Give your adjacent minions +1/+1. What do I have on 4 that would switch out with that? I would switch out this guy for this guy. What's the next card we'd want? I don't think I have any taunt minions in my deck at all. This is gonna be just a race for the face damage at this rate. I think there's a spell damage here that's a 4. It's probably not as good as the other guy though. It is questionable whether a spell damage +1 deck is actually even that useful. Particularly since I'm missing some cards and there's a bunch of banned cards now. Let's see. After you cast a spell on another friendly minion, copy it on that. I don't have any spells that would work with in my deck right now. This is a 6 spell damage. I don't think I'd want that. But I desperately need to put a taunt character in here. Some such. Not playing Reno Jackson, even though kind of makes sense. To play my Reno Jackson, though, you have to basically only have one of any card, and I guess with the Mage in particular, you might play a deck like that. You might just turn around and say, you know what? I have enough different Mage cards that would work, enough spell damage things that would work, but then you would lose cards like Fireball here. If you could only play that once because of Reno Jackson, you'd be a little sore about that. And I think if you're going to play Reno Jackson and have a deck like that, you kind of need Cro-Magnus to then double your cards to help you out a little bit. If I had another one of these, I'd test this out on something. Let's see. Do any of these legendary cards make any sense? Let's see. What's new? This Tintin almost certainly doesn't make any sense to play that when I could play this. At the end of your turn, put a minion from your deck into the battlefield. Let's get rid of one Flame Strike and put that in there, just for fun. So now I just need to type in Taunt. I have 2 of those in there, and then I cannot imagine squeezing some more Taunt characters in here. Are there any spell characters with Taunt that would make sense? No. No. So that's a strange deck for sure. Let's try it out, see how it works. So play in standard mode with the custom Mage. Let's see if this works. Wait, this is wild play. I thought it was in standard. Of course, you can play a standard deck in wild play. You can't play a wild deck in standard play, though. So, standard's the limited one. My Hearthstone deck tracker will compare the old deck to the new deck, so if there's any overlaps, they will dim out as I play them. If there's any new cards, they will get added. Not a great system, and it's only because of this one time that we'll do that. This little setup. I guess that's what I want here. The only thing I could get better is if I draw on the next turn the spell that summons 2 characters with taunt. This is your first start, it's a mirror image, that's what I was talking about. If I draw that pretty classic starting position there. This, and then this to power this up 1, and then this. Spend all your mana, deal that much. I guess you could play this right now and deal no damage. That'd be a waste. Shouldn't be available to be played when you don't have any card mana. But apparently the way they programmed it, you can't recognize that. Alright, so here's an example of where this card comes in handy. We do this, and we do 2 damage here. Spent 2 mana to do 2 damage. If it was the 3rd turn, I would have spent 3 mana. Or I could have spent 1 mana on something else and had 2 mana and do it. So that one card certainly changes a little bit. Before the only way you could have done that would have been to have some other card which doesn't exist actually. Try and pull something off like that.
Serve the Fire Lord.
And that has, I think, shifted the tide to my favor here, and I'm probably winning at this point. So if he can't kill either one of these, the next move would be to play this guy in between these 2 and give him both spell damage plus 1. If he manages to kill that one, then that doesn't make as much sense. If you have a minion with spell damage, do +2/+2.
Enter. 1 hero leaves.
Aw, darn it, I don't have a minion with spell damage. I should have played this in between this guy and then summon that. Slight mistake there. But I think I can easily recover from it. So if this player can't catch up,
A second chance.
he's gonna lose. Let's see. What do I want to do here? Doomsayer? No. This guy can just kill this guy. And then we can play this. And then we'll be fine. So now I can only take 1 damage at a time. That's gonna kill that guy. That's a shame. But we're trading fine here. I think this is gonna end up being the end of that, though. Gonna play this. Now you're gonna play this. And then I'm going to attack the face. And end the turn. This one will deal 8 damage. If he's smart, he'll attack this guy, but if he's dumb, he'll attack this one. This one having spell damage gives me this slight advantage here.
Don't
Well, now if he kills this one, I'll have no extra spell damage at all. So, instead, let's play Doomsayer. Gonna destroy everything. Oops, that was a mistake. I needed to attack that one. So I'm gonna have to do this on this guy. And then this on this guy.
Job done.
He tried to turn the tables on me, but this is gonna work. Unless he can kill this 7 health creature. Now I'm hoping he doesn't realize what this card does, which would be ridiculous, and summons a bunch more characters. But that would be asking too much. Here we go. This one, and this one. We're at 16 to 28. Now I've played all my cards, which is always a dangerous spot to be in. Though. Ideally, I want a spell card next turn, and not Flame Strike. Although Flame Strike would be fine, too.
I'm ready.
Actually, Flame Strike would be really nice right about now, if he's gonna play 3 characters. Darn it.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Get rid of this guy. And then trade blow for blow or do 5 more to the face. I think I'll just trade 5 to the face because that just gets him lower and lower. I could have even done 1 more and gotten him down to 10. Not that next turn I'll be able to kill him. This is only 8 damage, not 10, which would be 10 actually.
Tazdingo! Yes!
Come on, Flame Strike. Heart of the cards, draw it. A little Yu-Gi-Oh reference there. I don't even know if I put Flame Strike in this deck. I'm looking at the Hearthstone deck tracker, but it could be just mentioning the Flame Strike of the previous deck. Interesting. Summons a random 3-cost minion. Why did I put this in my deck? I guess it was just a good card. It is a good card. Alright, we'll get rid of this one. And then end the turn. No reason for this to attack that and die. Maybe next turn I could attack that, and then do 5 to the face. Using the Berserker with a Mage is a somewhat thoughtful idea. I've never really considered it, because except for your hero ability, there's no real way to direct damage there. After you cast a spell,
Let's make magic.
do that, do that, and then the turn. If one of these characters survives, and I get a spell like Fireball, that would, if this guy survives in Fireball, I've won. Like I said, this thing is gonna be a race.
Make magic.
It's gonna be a crazy race. So the question is, do I do 4 damage to the face and let him do 13? Nope, cannot do that. So we have to do this to get rid of this guy. That leaves him with 11 damage. So you can see the mage deck as I've built it needs a taunt character. Definitely needs a taunt character. And probably needs to get rid of the guy that gives you spell damage +1 and any other characters that are specifically in your deck to give you spell damage +1. And probably doesn't have enough spells in it too. So the mage needs work, and it's kind of odd is probably won't put too much work into the mage since it's already at rank 60 and I avoid playing it because there's always something that isn't at rank 60 that I could play instead. So that may get very little tweaking over the next few months as we get into Whisper of Gods, but I probably will tweak it a little bit. Anywho, this has been a longer episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.